welcome back to the GSTL Venus Day 1. We're in the second part. It's IM versus FXOpen. Currently, FXOpen is down 0-2, but they have pulled out Gumiho, the Lenok clone.
And it is, IM is the favorite team today. However, the first two players from FXOpen aren't necessarily seen as their stronger players, so now moving into the third and fourth players from FXOpen, we might see a little bit of different results. Happy doing quite well out here as Terran. He got a really strong lead in the first game, if you guys haven't seen it. Sorry for the spoilers, but, you know, this is real sports now. Everything's live. So he got the lead in the first game because he took control of the map. And then in the second game, he moved out at a really good timing against the Zerg player, Lucky.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention that choosing the map Terminus Re is really interesting. I'll get into that in a minute, though, because the countdown is starting. Can Gumiho bring FXOpen back into this, or will Happy pull his team up 3-0? Let's find out here at the GSTL Venus. I am Wolf, and with me is Torch. See you guys in the game. All right, down here at the bottom position, a member of the team IM. Sometimes he's cheerful, he is.
I am happy.
Over here at the right side of the map, a member of the team FXOpen used to play random.
Gumiho for you.
Also known as Lenok without glasses.
I like to call him the Lenok clone. It's a nickname I invented just today.
Ooh.
All right, that sign actually said Gumiho fighting. So Gumiho fan in the crowd there. Now I wanted to mention that choosing this map is interesting. Why, you might ask, Torch? Well, I'll tell you.
Why is that?
Okay, so here's the thing about this map. It's a huge map. Everybody knows it. It's a big map. It's actually the biggest map in the pool right now. It's huge. So choosing a map like this means you want to play it in a late game scenario. And we've already seen Happy play extremely well in that scenario. In the first game, he totally crushed ASDF, showing some really good decision making into the late game. He was great. He was mobile on the map. And picking a map like this against someone like that means that they feel really confident in Gumiho. And I think that unless he shines through here, I think it might come out to be a bad map choice because Gumiho plays random and he doesn't have as much TVT experience as Happy has, assuming that Happy hasn't switched races a lot. And speaking of, well, this actually is completely unrelated. I was going to say speaking of something, but there wasn't anything to say speaking of. There was a gas first.
Speaking of StarCraft,
speaking of StarCraft, it was a gas first.
So gas first from a Terran player is a pretty strong indicator that they're going to get an early factory. The difference is that this doesn't necessarily mean they're branching off into a tech build versus something else. It just means you're getting an early factory. You can get that factory and then you can transition over into an economy build or something like that. So it's not too telling yet of what the Terran player is going to do, but here is the factory.
Yep, he has made that factory. In fact, right now, both players making their factories. Just a little bit faster, though, for Gumiho because he did get that faster gas. Added the second gas now as well. So it's looking to me like he has a specific strategy for this map.
Yep.
Wanted to go gas first, wanted to catch his opponent off guard. Now, it's interesting that he would do that because, of course, when you go for gas first, you tech up and do some sort of harassment style build. But when your opponent is playing on a larger map, he might actually try to do a fast expand of some kind. You know, maybe a command center first. I doubt command center first on this map, but I didn't expect we'd see a command center first on Crevasse, and we did.
Yeah, if you do go Blue Flame Hellion quickly and your opponent expands really quickly, you can actually just grab all your SCVs and do an all-in. Because if you bring all your SCVs, he has to bring all his to counter you, and your Blue Flames will just annihilate his SCVs really, really quickly. Yeah, however, we don't see that this game.
Yeah, I mean, it could be some sort of Blue Flame Hellion drop. That's a good point, or just a Blue Flame Hellion build in general. But I think it is going to be Banshees most likely, just because this map is so large, and we do see the add-ons have been swapped, so he is going to be going for Banshees. Now, if your opponent goes for a 1-Rax expand or CC first, I keep saying CC first, but I'm only saying it jokingly because it's so uncommon to see that. But if your opponent does some sort of fast expansion type build, it stims late, then you hit him with the Banshees, and like we saw Maka Prime do in the Super Tournament, I really can't stress enough, I like how he did that build. He went for fast Banshees and Cloak, And if your opponent doesn't have stim, if you just micro your Banshees, he loses so many Marines that you can just do a timing attack off of one base and kill him if he expands. So that's kind of the Korean style of TVT, where you, instead of targeting down the SCVs, you target down the Marines to keep their army count low, and then you can finish them with a timing attack, or you just get ahead because your army's going to be better than them in the long run.
Yeah, that's very true. And we do see the same strategy from both players here. However, the slightly faster refinery from FOYU is getting him out Cloak and Banshee much, much faster. It also is interesting because the expansion of Happy is closer to the main base of FOYU, so he is going to be able to attack it a little bit earlier if any sort of second base is coming up quickly from either player.
That's very true indeed. Speaking of that Banshee, there she is now.
And I like that there's an SCV being brought here. If he doesn't die immediately, if it gets microed at all, maybe? Nope. Okay. Well, if it didn't die, you could keep it around to repair the Banshee once you have done your first attack.
Yeah, I think that was his plan. Oh, sorry to cut you off. That Banshee does run in here.
He is going to get Cloak very soon, so if he can keep it alive another second or two, he can Cloak, but he is taking a lot of fire. Ooh, very nice micro from the Terran player from FOYU.
And the Viking is out, but just a second too slow. Gumiho doing a lot of damage here with this Banshee. The missile turret trying to get up, but it is being targeted down by that Banshee.
He is going to need to wait for a scan. It is losing a lot of... Wow, he's actually targeting the missile turret here. He did take it down. Wow, that's huge. That's going to force the scan to go down. Loses a lot of minerals, and he is going to be forced to make another missile turret.
Meanwhile... Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, meanwhile, in the base of Gumiho, there's a Banshee doing some harassment. She's up to 3 kills herself. She's cloaked. Not enough energy for a scan. Jessia is waiting for it.
He has a scan now, but he doesn't have enough Marines to be able to kill it once he does scan. It's going to be very interesting what he's going to do. The turret's going up, so he's now safe on, or Happy is now safe on his front.
Yeah, that Banshee is going to be chased out. There's even a Raven. So it looks like Gumiho is going to lose his Banshee. But meanwhile, this Banshee of Happy actually has 16 kills, a much more successful Banshee than Gumiho's.
But the losses are actually even, so it is not going to be too far off if he can get these missile turrets up and start mining again. But one goes down and does get canceled, so he doesn't lose too many minerals. And he does have an expansion up, so he's going to be able to bring those SCVs back quickly if he can be able to chase this Banshee away.
Yeah, so it's a pretty even game. That one Banshee just very successful, but even so, he was able to get that command center up. He can replenish his SCVs very quickly. Right now, it's 23 SCVs for Happy to 19 SCVs of Gumiho. But again, like I said, the command center is up, like you mentioned, and that means that, of course, he can make 2 SCVs at a time. Whereas right now, there's no command center whatsoever.
Yeah, so really this is going to be a time that Gumiho, if he's weak temporarily, but if he can last longer through it, he does have double mule production, double SCV production, which starts very quickly giving him a lead, especially in Terran versus Terran.
Happy knows that his opponent has a command center, and he hasn't made his own command center yet. He's actually added another barracks, and I think we're just going to see a timing attack from him to try to end the game. I don't think he's going to plan on making expansion. It's so late now. You can't just make a command center late. It won't work. You're already behind. You have to do something. He may try to end the game, and if he does a lot of damage, then make a command center. But at the very least, he has to do a timing attack now.
And we see him moving out right now. It does get scattered by that SCV, so Gumiho is going to know what's coming, but he doesn't quite have enough siege tanks to be able to defend against this.
And at the natural of Gumiho, there's another Banshee. It's the same Banshee, actually. She's now up to 22 kills. The Raven, though, does spot her, and she does get 24 kills before her last rocket was dropped.
It's interesting that he chose to bring the Banshee in as an attack. However, we do have the Banshee of Gumiho trying to do the same thing in Happy's base. Hurt that siege tank a little bit. Oh, but it does get taken down barely. The Raven does come in for the last vision. It does force Happy to back off a little bit, which is exactly what Gumiho needs. He just needs to buy some time until his second base gets up.
That's right. Now, as far as supply goes right now, I'll give you guys some numbers. 57 supply for Happy to 56 of Gumiho. Does have that command center up. Right now, worker count 28 for Gumiho to 25 of Happy. He actually hasn't really been making that many more SCVs, because he knows he has to do something with his timing. Speaking of SCVs, his SCVs are under attack by this Banshee, and there are no units to deal with this. This Banshee actually is going to get so many kills.
Happy is actually being forced to pull back his Vikings and Raven, or was about to, but then he brought them forward again. He does have Marines here. I don't know how he's actually seeing that. Is there a missile turret within range?
Yeah, there was a missile turret pretty close by, and the Viking actually was about to chase him down as well. Now, smartly, Happy has sieged up Gumiho in kind of a tough spot with a lot of siege tanks. He has Vikings there. The Raven wants to drop a point defense drone. Oh, this is so sick.
Both Ravens drop point defense drones.
Whose point defender is going to win out this time? I don't know. He's got enough energy for almost another one, though, if he can just last it out a little bit longer. And he does. He can actually drop another point defense drone. Happy can.
And he also has 4 Vikings here, which is a lot more than Gumio has of 2. 4 is greater than 2.
Thank you. Here at the GSL Torch now, we've got some great math skills.
Yep. So FOYU is actually supply blocked temporarily right now, so he's not going to be able to bring in any reinforcements, which is very bad because without this air army advantage, Gumio is going to be losing the sight range and going to be forced to scan over and over and over again so that his siege tanks don't get killed.
Exactly. Now he's going to move some of his tanks over here to the side where he can siege that bunker, and the Vikings will get vision over both areas. So you can use those Vikings for vision of the bunker and vision of the high ground, so no reinforcements can come down, and these tanks will shell away at this bunker. This is actually a perfect way to deal with what's happening here.
And Gumio no longer has any Banshees, so it's not like he can even do any sort of back attack. Oh, these siege tanks taking a few hits as they try to reinforce the front. That is really not what Gumio needs right now.
Nice. Throws a Marine forward to tank some of those siege tank shots. Both players doing that, and actually that one Marine does finish off one of those tanks. Meanwhile, Gumio has made a 3rd command center. He's going to start mining from it, and basically if Happy doesn't end the game off of this, Gumio will eventually win.
Yeah, we do have 27 SCVs for Happy and 43 for Gumio, so it's really right now or never. But the supply is 88 for Happy and 80 for Gumio, so Happy's army is quite a bit bigger. He does have a big advantage right now, and Gumio is sending off the Banshee to try to defend, but he already cloaked, so he's not going to have any energy left when he does get to the base of Happy.
Yeah, he just sent it off. Fortunately for him, though, there aren't really that many Marines to deal with that Banshee at this point, so he may be able to get some kills.
And Q cloak canceling.
And the Banshee does have 2 kills. And now she will be taken out by a Viking, unfortunately for her.
Maybe it can take out a tank before then, though. Not quite. Hopefully that gets repaired.
Left on that tank. And another point defense drone here by Gumio to try to keep his Raven alive. Doesn't really have any Marines. And nice. Targets down 1 siege tank at a time. This is actually starting to look really bad for Gumio. Even though he had a better economy, this attack is just so sick. He did it in such a great spot. He attacked from 2 different sides, used that air superiority to gain control not only of that important ramp, but also the low ground.
And he does lose the low ground force, but it doesn't matter because he's very, very close to choking off the supply of Gumio. If he can take out this expansion, he no longer is at an income deficit and can really move in with his larger army.
Exactly, and in fact, he's making his own command center back at home, realizing that he might not be able to end the game from here. He even has, I knew he was going to do it, he's going to drop some auto turrets! I was about to say he should drop those, and he just did it right before my eyes!
You should be a pro player. You should play on a team like FXO.
I know I should, man. And look at that auto turrets taking those tanks out. Another Banshee does arrive to cut off reinforcements.
And that Banshee is exactly what Gumio needs to do, but unfortunately it's not quite enough right now. If he can hold these expansions, he might be able to get a force back. But it looks like Happy is preparing to do the final blow. That's a lot of Marines right there. Yeah, Gumio really does not have a whole lot right there.
Yeah, there's 37 Marines out right now for Happy versus just 3 siege tanks and 8 Marines of his opponent. Not to mention that he's got 4 tanks to just 3. And those Marines are going to be a great buffer when he tries to charge in here and end the game. If he decides to do that, he has made a command center back at home. He could take his natural, and he's so far ahead at this point that he doesn't even necessarily need to do that, but I like that he is. He's actually so good. I haven't really seen much of this guy, but so far I'm really impressed.
Yeah, Happy's a very, very strong Terran player. I am not really known for the Terran players except for MVP, but very solid lineup.
Yeah, that point defense drum being taken out there. And now some of those SCVs starting to come under fire. Even dropping an auto turret next to them. This is looking really bad for Gumio. He looked so strong, I thought he was ahead, but this timing attack was just so good. And that Banshee looks like she will finally be taken out.
Oh, and all the SCVs are transferring.
All the SCVs are transferring. That happens it happens to all casters, man. Don't feel bad.
I get so excited when the Terrans bring their SCVs, unless it's bit by bit.
I actually thought he might end up bringing those SCVs if this attack didn't go as planned to try to buffer for the tanks, but it looks like it's just going extremely well at this point.
Well, that's the thing, is because Happy's army is so big, he can throw all of his SCVs into the fight, and as long as he wins the battle, he's going to win the war very, very easily. Unfortunately, he doesn't see everything that we see, so he's playing it very, very safe.
Yeah, and actually, Gumio has started to even out the supply a little bit. He hasn't been throwing away tanks at the ramp like he was for a while. But even so, he's in a really tough spot. He's going to lose that third base once these rocks break down. The Marines shooting at them now. And right now, 51 SCVs to 29. Gumio in the lead.
Gumio seeing that a lot of the Marines are moving away, so he is moving in with his army. He's going to try to use the Marauders to take out the tanks very quickly, bring in the SCVs to absorb some of the shots. His tanks are actually doing a really nice job of taking out all the Marines. He is going to win this fight here. However, there is an army still at the third of Gumio, so he is going to lose his third, but that's not a bad trade for him right now.
In fact, he may actually save it with those Marauders, but there are a lot of Vikings here. The Vikings may land to assist, and in fact they do. And some tanks can come out. They're going to be really helpful in this fight, and it looks like Gumio actually, I was starting to count him out a little bit, but he was looking pretty solid. Even so, he is going to lose a lot of these SCVs trying to defend, and the supply evening out even more so than before.
Gumio timing that defense perfectly, though. He knew that he didn't have a big enough army to attack on the main force of Happy. However, Happy moved a lot of those Marines away to take out the third of Gumio, and Gumio saw that and knew, all right, if I move in right now, this is my last chance. If I don't go, I'm dead. Unfortunately for Happy, he could have actually moved in a lot earlier and won the game quite decisively, and is now very, very far behind. 60 supply to 72 supply.
Yeah, and he only has that natural, whereas Gumio has 3 mining bases. All of them orbitals, of course, so they can drop multiple or more mules than his opponent can. And
being a friendly army, letting that SCV pass.
Was very friendly. But the second part of the army was not to take that SCV out off screen. It was so horrible, we couldn't show you guys. Alright, right now, Happy, who seemed to be in a significant lead with his good timing, like you said, he just didn't kill his opponent. He was weak, and he let him grow back. Now he's looking like he's in the right spot. He's moved his main command center down from his main into that third base location, but I don't think he can defend against the units that are about to charge in there.
And he does have a lot of energy saved up for mules if he does land this command center safely.
Remember, a lot of the units are Marauders as well, so they're really great at charging in and breaking down siege tanks when the opponent's siege tank count is pretty low. And Happy moving out right now is actually, I think, a bad move. If he gets caught, he's going to wish he hadn't moved out, and he may just get caught now, but he sieges up first. Does take control of that Zelnaga watchtower. That's huge.
Yep, he's going to see all the movements of Gumio, and he's going to be able to take off a few shots without taking any return fire.
Yeah, sieging up first and getting that Zelnaga watchtower is pretty big. But I was about to say, this could start happening. 2 dropships full of units, one of them full of Marines, one of them full of Marauders, can be quite devastating.
They do get scouted.
Yeah, they are spotted by that Banshee, as you just mentioned. But they are going to do a lot of damage here in the main.
And the drop going off here, the Marauders stimming and are able to take out the auto turret very, very easily. However, the main force of Happy is going to come back here and be able to fend it off without too many losses, but it does lose him the middle ground like he really, really wanted to have right now. The medevac does get away, however, with only 10 health. If one Viking chases after it will take it out easily. The main force of Gumio is pushing in here, going to take out the siege tanks, going to be able to siege up right in the natural, basically switching positions from where Happy was earlier in the game. The main force of Happy is going to try to break this, but I don't know if it's going to be quite enough. Siege tanks dying very, very quickly, and the rest of the army is going to get picked up and taken away. Wow.
This has been quite a back-and-forth game, Torch, and it looks like this medevac is going to get away just barely with those units.
One medevac with 10 health off to the left, one medevac with 40 health off to the right. He can drop either way, or he can lose both of them if he's not careful.
That's very true. Now, right now, a lot of the units of Happy are in very low health, so that means if they get hit by basically one siege tank shot, they will they fall very rapidly. Right now, as far as SCVs go, Gumio at 43 and just 27 for Happy. He's sieging up here, trying to get himself in a spot where his opponent can't really move out.
And he does drop with a 40 health medevac, so he is going to be able to stop some mining time, but he does lose that without doing too much damage. The interesting thing is that while FOU has 43 SCVs compared to 25 of Happy, Happy's income is still not that far behind because he is using mules, whereas Happy is using a lot of scans. Or whereas Gumio is.
He's going to lose an orbital commando, and that's going to put his income pretty behind. Torch. These Marauders actually running forward, trying to target down some siege tanks, and they will at least get the orbital, and the SCVs may fall here pretty quickly as well.
This is not looking good for Happy. He is starved and forced to one mining base with very few SCVs. He is able to bring the third base SCVs back to his second, but he's actually going to bring a lot of them in with his army.
Yeah, I think he's just going to try to end the game from here. I don't think he can do it, but he's got to try something because he's not just going to recover from here. He can't remake that command center. There's really nothing he can do except try to end this game with a really strong attack, and really strong is what this attack is anything but.
And we do have another drop coming in here from Gumio. It did not get scattered this time, so Happy's not quite as prepared as he was last time. He's going to take out a few Marines, take out a siege tank, and maybe take out some of the tech.
Yep, and it looks like Gumio is just going to take this game in the middle of the map. The last engagement, I take it back. Looks like Gumio is going to retreat. He could have won that engagement quite easily, but now it's looking a little bit more close. He may still come out on top. Yes, he will with the reinforcements running in, and that's going to be it. GG. Gumio puts FOU back into this.
And the well-known adage of when you're ahead, get more ahead would have applied to Happy if he was ahead from his economy, but early in the game, he got ahead with his army only.
Yeah.
And Gumio was able to slowly defend his base, or able to defend his base long enough that his economy allowed him to really come back in the game. And that one key fight was really what changed the tide of the game.
Yeah, that kind of maneuver was really nice. I liked it. I was really impressed by Happy. He had the Vikings going in such an area where any unit that wanted to come down the ramp would have gotten shot, but also he started hitting away at those bunkers and slowly worked his way into the command center. Some great point defense drones, great Viking usage. He knew exactly how to execute that attack. But like you said, there was a moment where he could have just attacked in and won the game, and he just didn't do that. So
yeah, that's where a little bit of the all-in style is actually sometimes a good thing, because if he just brought those SCVs instead of transferring them to his natural, he could have just pushed in with his SCVs, Marines, and tanks into the main, and he would have been fine.
I am happy. Why you don't look happy? That's actually pretty funny because it didn't look happy for some of those moments there.
Yeah.
Looked only mildly happy.
Now he has a reason to not look happy, but
yeah,
maybe we should, like true Korean style, change his name every other day, and now he should be I Am Sad.
There actually, I think, is a player called I Am Sad.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, God.
Well, anyone can make their ID anything, so...
That's true.
You know, it could just be like another player I've met on the ladder. I just played against so many people, I just don't even remember. Sometimes like, yeah, I played against that guy, I think. And sometimes the name's in Hangul, I'm like, I don't know. I don't. This name looks really familiar, but I don't have time to read it because it's only on the screen for a second. I can't read very quickly.
And for anyone out there that's interested in Korean culture, Hangul is the alphabet of the Korean language. It is actually extremely easy to learn once you sit down. It looks very intimidating at first, but it's all very phonetical and very algorithmic. So
yeah, it's actually really easy to learn. I recommend trying it if you haven't.
Takes about 30 minutes if you're smart.
Yeah.
About an hour if you're not.
Actually, King Sejong said it takes a day to learn if you're smart, and otherwise it takes like a week or something like that, I think he said.
Yeah, but that was 1500.
Yeah, well, that's true. But I just wanted to change it. Who is that? That's a guy we've seen before. He is I Am Younghwa, a very strong Protoss player. Changed PvP forever.
He's a very strong player. I'm excited to see him play here. But he's not playing PvP here, he's playing PvT.
That's very true. The reason I say he changed PvP forever, for those of you who didn't know, is he basically popularized the 3-Stalker Rush. Someone adapted his build, and then from there, it just kind of became more popular. I'm not saying he was the first one to do it, but because of him, it was more well-known after he did it in the GSL, and people started doing it more and more, and it's almost a standard PvP build now.
It's really good having that variety, and because StarCraft is so new, it's a year old now, or almost, but it's still considered new compared to other competitive games out there like StarCraft 1 or other non-RTS games. So there is still a lot being figured out. A lot of stuff changes from week to week even. So it's nice to see all these different builds coming out here from these different players.
Yeah, I think that's, to me, personally, as a commentator and as a player, but more so as a commentator, the most exciting thing for me in StarCraft, even when I watch StarCraft when I cast it, is to see new stuff. To say, I've never seen this before, but this is so smart. Why didn't anyone think of this before? That's why I always think back, and I'm sure you think back too, going, if I were this good in the beta, if I knew all these things, I could have won every tournament ever.
I would be a very, very rich man.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess we'll just have to do it in Heart of the Swarm. We're going to have a 2-minute break, guys, so see you guys in 2.